we will be continuing with our reading of passages and doing some annotation. Today we will be reading The Unmaking of an Anthropology Myth. This begins on page 46 of the Reading in the Content Area Social Studies book that is published by Glencoe McGraw-Hill. So let's get started. Let's choose your highlighter, please. And starting with the questions, which we always read first. This passage is mostly about, please highlight passage, mostly about A. Mead's work and Freeman's disagreement with it. B. The Samoan Society in the 1980s. C. Australian Society in the 1980s. D. Margaret Mead's early upbringing. Number 2. Derek Freeman's book was published. A. 20 years after Mead's book. B. 55 years before Mead's book. C. 2 to 3 years after Mead's book. Or D. 55 years after Mead's book. So please highlight Freeman's book published. C. The final paragraph suggests that, number 4. The final paragraph suggests that A. Mead spent her life studying, writing about, and contributing to anthropology. B. Other work Mead did in her life was unimportant. C. All of Mead's work has been questioned. Or D. Mead's research stopped with coming of age in Samoa. Please highlight final paragraph, and just remember that when we flip back to the other page, we need to mark number 4 on the final paragraph. Number 5, the basic pattern used to develop this passage is A. Personal narrative, B. Question and answer, C. Spatial description, or D. Statement and disagreement. So number 5, please highlight pattern used to develop this passage. Number 6, the word duped in this passage means A. Copy, B. Paid, C. Deceived or tricked, or D. Confused. So go ahead and highlight the word duped, and when we see that in the passage, we will mark number 6 beside it. So click done, and we will flip over to the first page. Okay, so the making of an anthropology myth. Let's go on and highlight that part. And I think we all can agree that this is a non-fiction piece. So we will put that up there, and we will label this the heading. And this is paragraph 1, paragraph 2, 3, and 4. And we know that we are supposed to do something with the last paragraph. I don't remember which question it is. And we know that we're also looking for the word duped. So we'll look for that. All right, so let's read. Anthropologist Margaret Mead, 1901 to 1978, said people in the United States could learn from the Samoans about raising children. So please highlight Margaret Mead said people could learn from Samoans about raising children. What she had to say in her popular book, Coming of Age in Samoa, shocked people of her time. Mead, a young anthropologist in 1925 to 1926, studied the Samoan people. In Samoa, she said, life is free and easy. Samoa, she said, has no violence, no guilt, no anger. Samoan teens do not feel the pressure teens in the United States feel. In Samoa, she wrote, families are large and taboos are few. Disagreements are easily settled. Years after Mead's book was published, Australian researcher Derek Freeman disagreed. So please highlight years after Mead's book, Derek Freeman disagreed. In 1983, he published Margaret Mead and Samoa, The Making and Unmaking of an Anthropological Myth. So please highlight that sentence. In his own work in Samoa got very different results. He says Mead ignored facts to prove a theory. That theory proposes that culture, not biology, has the greatest influence on growing up. Please highlight, he said Mead ignored facts to prove a theory. That theory proposes that culture has the greatest influence on growing up. Freeman also says Mead did not correctly interpret her data. He says she did not understand how the Samoans. He said she did not understand how the Samoans really felt toward relationships. He claimed that the two girls she talked to told her stories. He says Mead was duped into believing these untrue stories. Go ahead and circle the word dupe. Also, Mead told of a Samoan life of leisure living on the beach without stress. Freeman said this was a fantasy. He researched Samoan crime statistics and history. The 1920s in Samoa, he said, were a time of violence. In spite of these doubts about her first work, Mead left behind a lifetime of important contributions to the understanding of human history. Go back up here to paragraph 3 and highlight the part about what the girls told me were just stories that were made up, and that the 1920s in Samoa were a time of violence. Then right here, Mead left behind a lifetime of important contributions to the understanding of human history. And for number 1, which I forgot to do, main idea, too broad, too narrow. Anthropological studies have been conducted in Samoa. Derek Freeman's claims that Margaret Mead's research in Samoa was incorrectly interpreted, or Z. Margaret Mead went to Samoa in 1925. So, after you have finished annotating, I need you to turn your annotated screenshots into the assignment and post your answer choices onto the SchoolNet assignment. Thank you. Email me if you have any questions.